Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things. How the hell does this guy know this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how does he know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage podcast, Wednesday night show. Tonight we're going to be doing Russell Brand, and it's we're having little issues with our green screen, so I may be having
I'm staticky too. I'm totally staticky.
Yeah, and my third eye, I've got a vortex in the middle of my head, guys. So we're just going to go ahead and roll with it because it is Mercury retrograde.
Oh my God.
And it is also 1:11, so we are in a portal as well. And the sun is firing off some flares the past couple of days. So do experience some technology glitches.
Technological glitches.
Yep, that's another sign of Mercury retrograde when you can't get your words out.
Oh
so,
my God, yes.
Totally feeling it. It's really strong. I know a lot of people have been reporting on it. So let us know how you're doing with during this period. There's a lot of cosmic stuff going on. So make sure that you are doing your grounding, drinking water, meditating, journaling, and pour in the self-care. So tonight we're going to be doing one of Dan's been
one of my favorite. We've been holding this one on standby for months now. It's like, well, if we ever run out of something to do, we always got Russell.
Yes. And I'm going to let you give the intro because I know you've been really in his charts and
so everyone please notice the lovely Jennifer Whittington, the Empire Hiroki, me, Danny Guru, reading these charts for everyone. And we will be we are now have just reversed our introductions. This is wonderful. So Russell. Yay. I love Russell. So everyone knows Russell Brand, but I mean everyone essentially has to have seen him at least once. He's everywhere and he's flamboyant and he's just all over the place, right? There's no mistaking this man's the stream of consciousness that pours out of him. So I've been looking at several and there's a couple of podcasters and one that I know personally, and they've got all this rightness in their cognition, in their arrows, and this seems to be a trend I'm seeing. So let's pull up Russell's chart, and I want to point to something we don't normally go to first.
Okay, real quick before we do that, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. And if you want to see the slides a little bit up closer, they are already in the description. You can download the PDF and follow along, especially if you're listening to this on one of the podcast stations, which is on Spotify. We're on Google, we're on Amazon, and also you can find us on iHeartRadio as well.
Cut it out, Jennifer. You're amazing. So for anyone who doesn't know,
not on Apple just yet, but you can find us pretty much everywhere else.
Maybe not on Apple, but you're definitely on 10. So like lots of things stand out here. Okay. A design to challenge, a design to struggle for purpose, a design of consciousness. He's on the cross of consciousness. Okay.
I saw that.
The design of a natural and just an absolute natural. However, the time that I got, I don't know how much I can rely on. What I can say is his chart doesn't change much during the day, except the profile. So I'll keep throwing in what happens if he's a 3-5 rather than a 2-4. That would be about the biggest shift. There's a little other stuff that could have been, but his emotional definition, him being the king of things, him being super busy, all this stuff stays the same. And at this particular time, Russell's also got this creative imagery that comes out of him unconsciously. So we've got all these things going on. So what do you say is Russell's like one of his biggest things in life? I love this activist, comedian activist. At this point, it's almost the other way around.
Well, yeah, I put that because, you know, I like to see what they have them listed as Google, and they had him as English comedian. And I didn't want to quite put actor, or because I don't really see that he's done that many movies lately. He's more of like been the activist.
Get me to the Greek. I loved that movie. He's been in several movies I thought were just fabulous.
I haven't seen much of him. I knew he was married to Katy Perry for a while.
Yep.
And I have listened to some of his podcast, and he is, you know, spouting out a lot of informative information
informative. So
as it pertains to the spiritual awakening and this grand transition that we are in. So
this grand transition, and he's obviously seeing it, and I notice he holds his tongue back, but at no time is he not trying to lead the way. You notice everything he says is a rally cry. Come on, people, for all our people. He speaks as the king of that thing. He speaks as the nine-centered ruler, leader, who is, you know, tribal, supportive, direction-oriented in that way. And he's trying to educate us. This is so prominent in his body graph. He desires to do this stuff. He's hungry for it. He can't help it. And when we go up to the very top, we don't read these very often. Do you see on the inside of the arrows, you've got black numbers, the 3 and the 5, the 5 and the 5. And on the left, you've got the 4 and the 4 and the 6 and the 6. I'm just going to do, I'm going to do the top arrows worth of the larger numbers. First of all, notice he's all right. Meaning it is a consciousness machine just constantly taking in. So if the environment around him is just right, that means the environment will pull from him everything he's ever going to say on a show.
can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Does his arrows affect his incarnation cross? Because that's kind of synchronistic that it's all like he's just pulling that information in from the ethers of the consciousness, and he is on the right angle cross of consciousness.
Yes, and let me I guess widen that out a little bit. So the larger technical answer is, of course, yes, everything affects everything. But it doesn't affect it as it relates to these arrows could be in any direction, and he would still be on the cross of consciousness, which is what you're asking.
Right.
But the personality, so the right side, top arrow, the personality mind, our thinking, self-reflected consciousness, that is who we are, who we think we are. As we're looking at something saying, that's me or that's not me, it's this cognition up here that's working. It's the mind, the top arrow pointing to the right, top right. That number 3 in there stands for the color. This could be a lot more vivid as it relates to explained, and I'm not going to go into a teaching lesson. All I'm going into is the fact that there's a color underneath every gate. There's information underneath the line. That's all. There's information. One of those is the 6 different colors. There's 6 tones. There's 5 bases. We get to read all these things. The color is this beautiful mechanism that connects the stuff that we can't condition, the stuff way under the line, that stays perfect no matter how messed up we are or are not. And then us on the surface, there's an interface. It's called color. This is called our motivation. I remember reading off your motivation once, Jen. I know mine. His motivation is desire. He's got a motivation that as soon as he's not in it, he's sitting on the sidelines, not, just impersonally. He's just literally kicked back, not doing anything. That explains a lot of his time when he was just drinking and on the roof off the grid. That was him in transference. When he's acting out his correct nature, he desires to lead. He desires to, if you're a 9-centered being desiring to lead, it means you're desiring to lead towards the anti-collective and the pro-individual. That's the primary form of leadership right now needed on this planet, and he is providing that in spades. His desire to lead is just, it won't stop. It won't quit. It's this thing that, and you add that to a 2-4 profile, and suddenly the desire to lead the charge, desire is about leading. It's not so much the ego thing of necessarily wanting to be first, although it does want to be first. And desire is in this body graph that has a strong sexual component. There's no question, because of his emotional definition in that crash wave. But it's not that exclusively at all. At all. The desire is we're heading someplace, and I really want to get there. So I desire to put everything in order. We're setting up this podcast. I desire it to be the best. I desire it to rock and roll. Jennifer, when we first started this whole mission together, you and I'm a third tone 2/4 being. I got called, and my desire to lead and jump ahead and do stuff it's insatiable at times.
I'm a 1 tone. It's the top number, right? Not the small number.
It's the bigger number. Yep. And you're a 5, as I recall.
No, I'm a 1.
Oh, you're a 1. Okay.
I'm a 1. I have a small 5 on the other side.
Right. So exactly. So this desire of his is literally a desire to put himself out front. Sounds like ego stuff, and it might as well be, because he's got that big fat ego defined there in the single definition. So we see a single definition. So that means Russell processes information quickly. It doesn't mean he comes to his truth quickly, because he's emotional. So he goes through his emotional wave just like everyone else who's defined emotionally. But he does process information quickly. You and I are split definitions, Jen. When we're together, we process pretty quickly. When you're just, on your own space, or me too, we're split definitions. We take a little longer. Something might come in and we're not quite sure about how we're going to digest that data yet, because one part still has to speak to the other. If you took a pen and drew through all of his definition, you'd never have to pick the pen up off the paper, because it's all connected into one single definition. And in this case, it's everything touches the throat. So the throat.
Yeah, I just noticed that looking at it.
His throat is a single definition central hub. This is a great, this is just a great example of what happens when you put desire behind a talking throat that won't shut up because it got called, like a second line does, as his own natural self to get back. He got back on the horse somewhere along the line and created his podcast, and it started taking off because of his desire to do this. It was unstoppable.
He has no hanging gates in his throat.
Not a one.
Not one.
Nope. And look at that ego of his. He's got a gate 51. He's always going to do shocking stuff. Dr. Shockster. And because it doesn't go to the 25, he will meet endless gate 25s in his lifetime. I'm a gate 25. Many people are. There's only 64 gates. So however many times 64 going to 7.8 billion, maybe 200 and something million per gate. So we're everywhere. But his desire to shock is going to be one of his main not self themes. Because he's a single definition. I mean, when I say one of his main ones, and it's not a not self theme, it's a fun theme for him. It's Mr. What's new under the sun? Let's leap into this thing. Let's check it out. Let's go. When he is in called mode, being called into the thing that he's doing, suddenly the rest of his body graph just makes him light up with a big fat throat and a big fat ego with a manifesting generator channel that brings his emotionals and his colorful stories to the fore. He can't help it. It always brings it out to the fore. I have been watching his videos for several years now, and they cut and they edit here and there. And I notice when they do, very often it's because his stream of consciousness just went on too far. So they find a quick spot and when they cut, you notice, if you ever look closely, you'll notice you can tell there's a cut because there's a cut.
Yeah.
But you can't really tell easily from the moving from one to the other as it relates to the veracity in his face, the intensity in his eyes, where the embouchure of his lips essentially is in motion, where the words are coming out in a certain way, with a certain timbre, at a certain speed, at a certain pitch. All of it is mannerism. They'll chop out some things, and because he was still going, he's basically in the same spot where they'd had to chop out 30 seconds. He's still in that same, okay, let's pick back up here. No one will know. And that's how all his cuts work. I've watched lots of podcasters. There's cuts, and you can tell.
Yes. Yeah. Well, even doing videography behind the scenes, I've tried to do that with my own videos. And let me tell you, that's not easy to do.
No, but for Russell, it is easy because if you're always like this and you're man and you're going off to the things, and if these things here and you're caught that there and the unfairness and the inequity of what's going on out in the world for big corporate interests, blah, blah. When you do that and you just take 10 seconds out of the middle of that, you could easily clip back in and not quite tell.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Great
Russell impression.
Yeah, yes, impression. Sorry. I'm having trouble with my words today.
Well, it's Russell's fault. It's not your fault, Russell. You're perfect, buddy. You were born perfect. You just went through a rough patch, and hopefully you've gotten your design read by now. You crazy nut. We love you. So on the left-hand side, we've got this number 4. There's 2 4s there.
Mm-hmm.
This is what is the basically conditions under which his brain is going to be literally digesting the information that's coming in. Now, it's a right-facing arrow, so that means his brain system has nothing strategic about it. It's only taking in. If he tries to go in there and do something strategic other than get out of his incarnation cross of consciousness, if he tries to strategically do something with that, just boom, it's time. Then he just went off the rails, and that's the spot where you'll see a cut coming up in his one of his videos. But if that environment, which in this environment it is either calm or agitated, it asks for either a calm or agitated environment when he is moving into a place that his brain system will physically operate and digest the information according to his speediness and his desire to lead and his desire in general. So what does he surround himself with? A busy space. Even on his podcast, he still wouldn't do it without another person there to constantly draw stuff from him. Mm-hmm. And I see him looking over at that other person all the time. He did his Russell brand. He made a new thing, and it's mostly on Rumble. He airs every day at noon. Russell brand electrified or something. It's really cool. And he needs another person there to keep drawing from him. And I notice him looking at that other person, trying to agitate a little bit the surroundings. He tries to agitate him a little bit. I forgot the guy's name, but he'll call over to him. So well, you must have a thought, man. And it'll be like pulling up this sort of slightly aggressive, his agitatedness is actually a correct way for him. He's probably learned to feel sometimes bad about that. When really, yes, if it's too much and the timing of it isn't right, absolutely, then it would be up to someone else to say, hey, that's not for me right now necessarily. But mostly speaking, it's like, no, Russell, it's just you're agitated at all that. That's great. How can I help you? Or I got to go chop some wood. One of the two things without Russell ever being made to feel bad for that or something.
Right.
So another thing that stands out in his vivid oratory styles and how he communicates is this definition between the ajna and the throat. So the thing that's doing the conceptualizing is unconscious. So the steady life force of this storyteller, of this excited man who has ideas that are interesting, that he wants to express into the world in the form of an abstract experience. He's always pulling his experience up while it's rolling off his tongue. He's basically, in music school, we call this through composing. You'd start playing and you'd let your playing be the composing rather than intentionally trying to put notes somewhere and using theory and so forth. So he is always through composing. What is it he's saying? He never stops. And this is this unconscious gate 11 that is this stream of consciousness for him. And look, it's in his moon.
Yeah, it is.
So he's driven. And opposite the moon is gate 17, line 1, but gate 17 opposite the moon. That's a lot of driven, logical, and abstract mental expression in a defined ajna connected to the throat through the gate of stimulation, gate 56, stimulating the idea to make a stimulating story and putting pieces together one by one to make a long string of stuff. Basically, that describes how he podcasts. And
Yeah, it does.
it does. And I noticed there's a team behind him, and there has been this whole time. Some form, he's never done this alone. There's a team. And that team has constantly got stuff up in front of him where he's reading. And he needs a little bit of reading. And as soon as he starts reading, all of his rightness comes out. And the words he just said out loud now draws from him all the stuff he's going to say. And he goes
Mhm.
off the rails. It's as if his gate 11 and his body graph and his consciousness and the 64 and the 63 up top that are pressuring all of this, and this amazing gate of insight, gate 43, that wants to break through with its insights. It's as much that as anything else. He's always on a breakthrough. Every one of these things is entirely colored by his desire to break through, his desire for the ideas to flow, his desire to spill out the right message. It just makes this a huge powerhouse for the moon. It's the drive, the impetus, this thing that moves us. It becomes a focus. A focused drive is this moon. And 17 says, I challenge your opinions. I challenge everything that you have to say about your opinions, or not, in this case. And 11:6 says, and I have an idea what to say about that. And gate 56 says, I know how to put that, I know how to articulate that really well. And then you even look down at all the things that are designed to challenge. He's got a gate 18 on his spleen designed to challenge. I challenge this pattern. I challenge your authority. I challenge your opinion. I challenge your analysis. I challenge your breakthrough. I challenge your ideas. Unless they're great.
Mhm.
And respecting the individual as if they lived in a constitutional republic instead of an autocracy or monarchy, really. Quasi-democratic parliamentary monarchy is what they live in, really. So there's Russell. Now, in his early days, he would have had trouble with this open head and this open root center.
Yeah, but the massive pressure.
Yep. And not only is it massive pressure, but it also, do you know anything about his sexual exploits?
I do not.
I mean, he was a little man whore. Just call a spade a spade. He was one of the reasons Katy Perry might have had a thing or two to say. And it's not that he can't love. It's just that when you have the channel of transitoriness, 36 moving up to 35 on that far right, the longest channel, which makes him emotional. Look at the crisis portion of it, gate 36, the gate of crisis, which brings out this feeling of inexperience that wants to satiate itself. When you put in the pressure of this open root and the gates that are defined on this root that are here, gate 52 on the root says, I want to start something. I want to start something. I want to start something. And because he's a sexual being, I want to start something sexual. Gate 19 says, I want passion. I'm going to provoke you. What's the passion inside of you? What is this going on? Is there a romance here? What do we got? I will provoke you. It was like a Jedi with a sword. I provoke you. With the power of Christ, I provoke you. That was Russell. The power of Christ compels you to be provoked by me. And that's unconscious in him. And you take gate 41 down there at the very bottom. Look at what that does. That says, I hunger for the experience. I hunger. And it's no awareness to that hunger. I'm just a pressure ready to, it's a goose that's about to lay the golden hungry egg that's going to be eaten and satiate the hunger of gate 36. And gate 41 just wants to lay that egg one at a time. I'm hungry for this. I'm hungry for that. And it doesn't make it up to the throat, but it does reverberate through his body graph, and it attacks his not self. And in his early days, it drove him to man horrory. So,
man horrory.
Yeah, that was a lot. There's a tongue twist. I can feel it not working right. But anyways, this can't be judged. You can't judge this. He had so many experiences that made him the contemplative, wisdom-seeking person that he keeps being today. And he's interviewed some of the most influential leaders, thought leaders, people just, so I can't blame him for that. And Katy Perry, if you're listening, there was a certain helplessness and a not knowing. So whatever went on back there, by now, hopefully you just looked and realized that's Russell. We forgive him.
I'm pretty sure that's not what ended the marriage.
Oh, do you know something I don't know? I don't know what ended anything, by the way.
Katy Perry's full of symbolism. She's compromised big time. If he's doing a podcast about truth and trying to bring these people down, I'm pretty sure he didn't like her eating babies.
Oh yeah, let's see. So well, then he would have had the powerful ego, the rulership gate 34 to 20, the channel of charisma, which is awareness must become deed. He's got a genetic proclivity to where awareness must become deed. He doesn't seek control. He is control because he's got the whole channel of that. When you have that as like a kid, you are the control. Your parents can't really control you. And then he's got this experiential crash wave that when he was finally done with the experience of Katie, he could say, been there, done that. That this wave is seeking to reach its resolution of, you know what? I've been there, done that. It's been a crisis. But as I get older, I realize I know I can. Basically, I feel like, that's what his voice says. I feel like, and it usually says, I feel like a change. But somewhere along the line, as you get a little bit wiser, it's like, no, I had that change, that. You know, I've been there, done that. So in its wisdom, it'll say, I feel good enough. We'll stay put here rather than constantly shuffling it up.
Mm-hmm.
So in his early days, this would have been terribly confusing. All right-facing arrows. Everyone around him strategically running around in a left world. If you ever listen to that audio I sent you, Jen, it's so good. And here's this man running around in a left world, knowing he's not strategic. And then every time he's called out for something, that powerful ego of his saying, don't you try to take control of my thought process. Don't you try to take control of my tribe. Don't you try to take control of my way. I have this. I have that. A voice that says, I have the power here. I have the power over me. This is the 2-4. So you add all that up and you've just got this, everything in his body graph speaks to speed, fast, immediacy.
And he's a generator too on top of that. So he's got the energy to sustain all this.
Sustain all of that, right. And so let's say Katy Perry was, let's say she didn't have a sacral in her body graph. You know, he would have just driven her. He made her have gray hair, if that's the case.
That'd be interesting to see what she is.
When I watched Russell, I used to tap into his comment section saying, Russell, let me read for you, bro. And I religiously for a while got many of them anyways. I would always tap in with that, sort of like the kid that said, hey, well, I want my $2. I wouldn't stop. And if he's been read by now, he's still gripped by certain things. An open head and an open root center that put him under incredible pressure to try and essentially push a direction that builds consciousness over things that he's not strategically able to put all of them together until he becomes the super knower. Sooner or later, his experience makes him the super knower, and then he's the actual specialist on all of that. He has now reached that strata in his profession as it relates to hunting down the wicked stuff in the world and trying to alert us. But how about in his mundane life, in his regular things? And the dog needs a, and then the wife has to, and then the kids are gonna, and then his ability to actually keep it all together is truncated unless he's just waiting to respond. I can see there's things that I would love to coach him on. It's not your pressure that you have to figure out all the things of the past, that you have to do something about the confusion. It's not your pressure that you have to meditate to stop the doubts and confusion from flowing through. That's not why to meditate. That's not why to face your demons. To face your demons, and for Russell's case, would be to see the keynotes, incorporate them into your awareness and watch them happen. And then go back to meditating and yoga and blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm not saying stop meditating. I'm saying pull it in and incorporate it into that process that he's always into. Same thing with the open root center. This pressure to be on the move. But the thing is, when you've lived with an open root center long enough, sometimes you get really good at riding that pressure wave. It means he's open to the pressure field. So now he's got to be on the move on a brand new topic every day, right? That's a lot of pressure. But as soon as he accepts the pressure, he rides it just fine. When he's done, he bails out. Doctor second line here, he doesn't hang around and party all day. He goes back to his hermit cave. He basically gets out of Dodge because enough was enough already. So, I mean, this is Russell in a nutshell. He's almost, I guess I almost went through his whole chart without Oh, I want to read his nodes. So his nodes are the same, and they harmonize with his whole chart. So closely. So the nodes on the right-hand side are 3420. So that's the archetype of a manifesting generator, busy. It's both conscious and unconscious. So that means he's getting it on both sides. I have that channel. It's all conscious. So I'm always getting it through my personality, but unconsciously it leaves me alone. He's getting it on both sides because he's got it on the left side too.
Yeah.
His whole life path was one of awareness becoming deed in the now. That's the path he was always going to take through life. The majority of the path is this clarity in gate 20, line 5, to be the realist that then said, my realism must move into my power to be a bully and manhandle this information. That's been his life path. And I didn't make that up. I'm reading this from the keynotes of his, from what it would be. Gate 20, line 5 is realism. Gate 34, line 1 is the bully. Now, 100,000 years ago, that bully was literally a bully. I mean, they bullied whatever it took to survive. As we have refined in our 9-center way, that bully is the bully to move the thing. It does come out as a bully sometimes. But in our 9-centered way, it's not so much the bully, it's the keynote of what gate 34 is supposed to be. What I'm doing, Jennifer, what I'm doing is I'm reading a life trajectory that you can guarantee shows up. It's when I read from 20, line 5 on the left, diagonally up to 34, line 1.
Yes.
When I do that, that's a particular hunk of reading that says, this is the life path. And then when I reverse that and I go 20, line 1 up to 34, see how the reverse diagonals, they make a little crisscross. That is his cognitive development. So the foundation of being in the now suddenly develops itself into the person who will annihilate. Annihilation is what 34, line 5 is. So the foundation of discovering his now as his mental cognitive development is developing turns into what I've discovered in the now, I have the power to annihilate. And that annihilation just means the power to release power, annihilate what's in front of you, and then return to normal circumstances, because gate 34 says its power is only good when its use is for the highest and best. And in that case, the highest and best is the survival of the individual inside of humanity, and along with the generative capacity of a generator. In response, the highest and best of gate 34 is its natural response. So that's this cat to guarantee. So when he was younger, the realism, I don't know about this realism thing, until finally the realism was too much, where suddenly he realized that 34 gate line 1 would come out and he would manhandle and bully this stuff into shape. Literally, the power of the great. That's gate 34. So 3420 in both sides for his nodes. I mean, that's like the phoenix. That's half of the cross of the sleeping phoenix in both of his conscious and unconscious nodes. So that's his movement in this life. It's like basically the bowl in a china shop, to smash into it until the realism says, this is what our cause is. This is the highest and best. I am realistic and I am in the now, and my realization will annihilate what I need to in front of me. And I have desire as my motivation in my life. It's desire. So I desire to annihilate and bully the bad detrimental forces out of the way in order to inform the community, which is his 2145, that tribal channel, to inform the community as a good ruler that I am controlling my surroundings so I can educate you as to what is wrong with our human tribe, with a stunning story that comes out of his mind system unconsciously. So he doesn't even know it's coming out, but he knows it's gonna, in a stimulating way that tells the story that's unstoppable, satiating this beautiful emotional need that he has to just feel the experience of winning at all of that. A design to be first and want to win, to leap in the void and avoid the pressure, surf the pressure, and act on his awareness right now to satiate that hunger and get the word out in a stimulating way. Pulled out of this 2-4 natural hermit who's gate 35 and gate 5 on his sun side. So part of this cross of consciousness says the experiential way gets stuck in a fixed pattern. Human experiences pulled into a fixed pattern allow us to step into the consciousness of evaluating the past and the future. I mean, that's part of how this reads. And to further boil that down, so gate 5, you're going to love that. So 35, let me get this here, and gate 5, and then we'll end it on that. So 35 is where he got in trouble. 35 line 2, creative block. It's this inspiration that holds itself back in order to stop progress. That would have been when he started drinking, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's wicked beneficial when you have all this energy. It's the ability to bring this progressive change into others' lives, because he slowed down enough with this creative. If his creative block doesn't show down in a 2-4 natural that is going to answer a call, it will steamroll over everybody. His words won't get heard. He has to slow down. This is a design of almost caution, to slow down with your creativity. Now, this was a life process he had to learn, and he learned it the hard way. In the detriment, it's the need for change and the fear of stasis being uninspired. The need for change and the fear of stasis and things feeling uninspired, as in nothing new under the sun. The need for change. This describes his early adult life all the way up to age 25 or 30, maybe even a little more. He's still doing it now. There are times when he's incredibly sad. There's nothing new under the sun. All of this is, yeah, Russell, dude, you have this amazing crash wave. When you start going down, it's unconscious. You can't tell it shows up. This is the place where you get all of your intelligence, and you need to see it's just a chemistry designed in your body through the genetic matrix you are imprinted with that guarantees you will go up and down, a design of an emotional wave that soars up to the top and then crashes down, soars up and then crashes down, and you will feel it very much as a crashing. So that's a chemistry guaranteed to make you smart, Russell. So all the times that you're trying to avoid it or whatever in your own personal space that we would never know about, get yourself read, Russell, for God's sakes. In fact, you know what? Let me read you, you little prick.
Yeah, we have Antoinette's on. I just checked the comments. She said that you had her write to him one time.
Yeah, I have a right to him. Well, she accused me of having a man crush on either him or one of them. Yeah, I think it was probably Russell. And I was like, whatever that really means, I'll take it. Sure enough.
Well, no, it'd be good. Maybe somebody can work on sending this to him or tagging him.
Hey, Antoinette. So, and then the fifth, the 5-2. So the sun, earth, right? The sun is in gate 35. Mm-hmm. This is what's driving him. This insatiable need for the progress that drives him. It's a driving force, and it's grounded in this gate 5, line 2 on the far right on the top. You're going to love this one. Fixed patterns, the attunement to waiting. Doesn't look like Russell waits for anything, but oh yes, no. He does. He does. He waits in it's called inner peace. This design to fix this fundamental attunement to the natural rhythms of things. He actually has found his way to wait as an active state of awareness. Just waiting, like a panther, Jen, waiting, just waiting. And then he strikes. And when I read this to you, the ability to ignore temptation and to take premature action. Now, he had to learn this as a life process. That means in the first 15 and 20 years and 25 years, he sucked at ignoring the temptations that then make him take premature action. He was no good at it. And he had to learn that this was his process. Now, he does this now. I've watched him. And when I read the actual line, it's the gift for maintaining composure through idealizing tranquility. And that's what he portrays all the time. Let's take a breath, everybody. It's the power to be comfortable with one's own rhythm. And it's in his defined sacral. And it's got a gate 9 on his sacral. So he's focused and concentrated at being able to do that when he's not super frustrated. In the detriment of this, which he would have lived out many times, it's the drive for power that is constrained by the fixed rhythm, meaning I desired this would have been his what you were noticing, his desire to drive and move beyond what his attuned fixed patterns are saying. No, my son, you must wait. So he ignored that over and over again. And if you're a carpenter and you ignore that over and over again, you smash your thumb.
Yeah.
If you're a movie actor and you ignore that over and over again, you get married to the wrong person and you are in the wrong movies and you insult the wrong people and you get in some trouble. You're
going to learn something along the way.
And you are going to learn stuff along the way, that this cross of consciousness is designed in this body graph to be a leader. He's here to be the king and the queen of the tribe that witnesses what the educational needs are in order to save the continuity of the tribe. He's even got a gate 50 in his body graph. So, and it's being activated all the time. He's well aware of this cauldron of values that shows up for him. And it shows up and it shows up and it never stops showing up for him. His values do get set in place through his awareness in the now, based on this beautiful experiential crash wave that still loves to have sex with whatever. Not that he's saying he does, but don't be surprised if his wife gives him a hall pass type thing or something, or if he's now wise enough to say, I don't want it, honey. Because the second line is there for hope. The 2-4 is there to have the confidant or not, the trusted one. It's there for the friendliness. And it's got a shell that really, when he was younger and acting out all that sexuality, just like me when I was younger as a 2-4, it's no good. That's not who we are. We're shy before we're bold. That's our true method in order to know we've entered incorrectly. But there's Russell with that experiential crash wave and all those crazy stories that come out of nowhere. He's like a gunslinger with a mouth that'll never shut up, and he can't help it. It's not supposed to. And so he would have ignored all of that. He would have ignored it. And by now, if he's lucky, he started to see, you're not my friend. You can't just have me. In fact, I hope he has sort of gotten to that point, right? He'll be out.
He would be at that age where he started to gain that awareness.
I would hope
learn those lessons.
So yes, he's out doing his tribal thing, and he's noticed it whenever he goes out. He always does it locally. He always brings in a tribe of people, and he always talks to them as if he is the king of that podium. And he always talks to them as we. That's what the king does. The monarchy never says I. That's the old way.
Right.
The monarchy says we, and he does we, and it's not fake we. It's emotionally grounded, real, and sincere, and that's what pours out of him. And he talks in that manner. So even if people or pretty girls or whatever, the sexual component in him that just likes to penetrate. By the way, that's what it's about. It's designed to make things get pregnant, really. To provide the fertile arena where conception can take place. But by now in his process, even that could take place, and he might see it inside and be like, 10 years ago might be different, but I don't know you. I can see him being at a moment where someone, a girl maybe tries to whatever, assuming it's girls, by the way, tries to whatever, and I can see him, withdrawing, being the hermit. I don't know about that. I disappeared. Didn't you notice? That's what a good hermit does. They just they do what the hermit does. They sidestep through isolation. They successfully sidestep whatever the other wants. They just step aside, and up goes a shell. So this is our Russell in a nutshell. And Russell, just keep doing what you're doing. It's all here. Annihilate the stuff, Russell. To throw out that power that's a bully. Bring your awareness into the now. Please keep leading us into the future with your information. Bring this beautiful emotional bouquet that is so arm-ridden and coming, practically drooling at your lips, trying to keep the words from smacking off of your lips when you talk, and keep that colorful consciousness coming our way. What he's doing is he's pulling it from the world anyways. He's all right.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's all right.
Open head.
Yep. That means he's open to these forces of consciousness, and he's basically channeling them. His pineal.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah. He's just channeling the information that needs to be delivered to the collective.
And he's doing a killer job at it. Yeah. Yep. So that's our Russell brand in a nutshell, Mr. Motor.
Mr. Motor. Great
Yep.
job, Dan. I know you've been waiting to do his, but
Yeah,
you
I
did
know.
perfect
I know.
one.
I put a little extra time in today to look at it, and then I specifically didn't look at it. And then I shaved my face for this, and I put on a nice shirt. Jesus, Jen, and you got a haircut, and it looks fabulous.
Thank you.
So
Self-care.
self-care.
Yes.
I don't know how long I'm going to stay shaved. So I've been shaved for a little while, and I'm looking for opinions. Shaved or goatee?
I like it. All cleaned up.
I'll stay with it for a little while, just for you. But,
great job on Russell. So before we Antoinette put, you both look dapper as fuck. Love you, Antoinette. Thank you, girl. Yeah, thank you for tonight's episode. I thought that was really great, and hopefully maybe we can get Russell to view it and he can give feedback.
Yeah, tag him. Hey, Antoinette, tag Russell, and we'll do this. I'll do it, and then you do it, Jen. Maybe, right? We can tag him, right?
We can try to tag, see if anything happens. So,
well, I'll go ahead and get my hopes up.
Yeah, get your hopes up. I know you'll probably cyber stalk him on this one, knowing you.
Yep.
So thank you everybody who tuned in to tonight's episode. Sunday, we are going to be doing part 2 of the Ego Center. So me and Dan are going to be wrapping that up. So make sure you tune in, and yeah, I don't have anything else to. If you haven't booked already, please make sure you book your session with Dan. And if you want to do a couples reading, they are available as well.
Yeah, they're wicked important. Book your readings, guys. Don't wait. Tell your friends. Take it up.
Yep.
Very well, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys. We will see you next time. As always, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow the show. And if you know somebody who would resonate with this episode, please make sure to tag them and share it out. With that said, we will talk to you later.
Peace out,
Bye
everyone.
now.